How's it going, Big Mocker? Nice to meet you. My name's Mike. Today I'm going to be pitching you an idea that I want to turn into a feature film, and my feature film is called Emma. Emma's a film I was inspired to make about a disabled child who I really want to depict. I really want to get inside the head of this girl. I feel that disabled individuals are far more intellectual than they seem. I have two main characters in my film, Emma. First, there is Emma, obviously, who is autistic but also later becomes depressed, which we find out in the film. Next, there is Alex. Alex is the father. He's abusive and he commits a lot of domestic violence throughout the household. He causes a lot of trouble in this film. Alex is also the caretaker of Emma, which makes it a huge conflict throughout the film because Emma is essentially in danger in a lot of the film. Now, I also have one more side character, Steph. Steph is Emma's mom. Steph ends up coming in near the end of the movie and becomes the protagonist, essentially taking care of Emma at the end of the film. Now, the conflict of this film is simple. Emma, the disabled autistic child, is also depressed. Now, before I give you any spoilers, Big Mocker, I'd like to give you my summary. Is that okay? Awesome. After the struggling young parents find out their autistic child is depressed, their relationship slowly starts to spiral into nothing. Their relationship at home becomes more vulnerable. After leaving the doctor's office where Emma got diagnosed, Alex comes home in a violent rage. Now Steph is agoraphobic. This means that she does not like to interact or go outside. Now Steph breaks down when Alex comes home with Emma because Alex is screaming at Steph. Now Big Mocker, Steph does something you wouldn't believe. After a couple punches to the gut, a couple slaps to the face, and slaps to the wrist, Steph takes Emma and storms out of the house, down the street, around the corner to the near local therapist office. This is where you start to see Steph begin to care a little bit. After Steph brings Emma into the therapist office and schedules the appointment, they both sit down. Except Steph wants to sit in the office with Emma because she's just too afraid to sit in the lobby. So they all sit down in the therapist office and he glances over past Emma and looks to the mom, Steph, and sees all these bruises on Steph. He subtly suggests to Steph that if there's any issues going on at home, he can call Child Protective Services. The therapist insists on calling Child Protective Services himself, and she sort of starts to cry a little bit. Steph can't bring herself to do this to her husband, so the therapist, without any hesitation, calls Child Protective Services. The story ends focusing on Emma, as well as Steph. Now that Steph is united with her daughter, there's a new story developing, potentially to a sequel. At first, my project didn't change. My pitch was generally the same and I was very confident with my storyline, but then afterwards, I realized that I wanted Alex to be completely out of the picture. Originally, I had them reuniting as a strong couple and living in a better household down the road, but then I realized that nobody would want somebody who commits domestic violence in the household around afterwards, so I just decided to wipe him from the film. My industry professional is going to be John R. Leonetti. John R. Leonetti was the director of both Conjuring and Annabelle, which I find to be both amazing horror movies. I believe the cinematography in those movies are absolutely great, and I believe he could convey an awesome style that I'd look to have in my film, making my film the best it possibly can be. I plan to be working with New Line Cinemas on this new film. New Line Cinemas was the production company behind Conjuring and Annabelle. I also want to work with RED cameras to achieve the best quality I can for this project. On top of using the RED cameras, I plan to be using their RED Clutch shoulder mount to create a great filmic look to my project. My target audience falls under two groups. Group A being families that are dysfunctional and Group B being families that have disabled children. But in reality, anybody can watch this film. A transmedia market plan is shirts. I will be selling shirts at different vendors such as the mall or online. I believe that shirts will be the best way to spread word of mouth, and shirts will be a best way to create a cult following for my film. Next, I'm going to blow up Twitter. Not only am I going to provide an awesome trailer for them to watch, but I'm going to provide an amazing, unforgettable hashtag that they can take from Twitter over to Facebook, creating the best following I possibly can. The way I'm going to be measuring the success of my film is through checking my box office sales. After checking the box office sales, I'm going to be checking Facebook and Twitter for publicity and feedback. Lastly, I'll be checking famous website Rotten Tomatoes for good criticism and feedback to see if my film really stacks up to the others this year. Now for my product placement. My product placement, I really wanted to think long and hard about what would work with my film. So I chose Emma. and I'm going to be using Hasbro for my product placement. Emma's going to have a Hasbro toy that she has for the majority of the film. Now I have one more product placement as well as a promotion company, and that's Chevy. Alex, the abusive dad, will be driving a beat-up old Chevy, but I'll also be using Chevy as my marketing company to help promote my film in the future. Thank you once again, Big Mocker, for hearing out my pitch and my idea. I really hope you're on board with what I have to offer. I plan on this being a very successful film. Nice to meet you again.